Let's be honest for a moment. Have you ever checked your bank balance late at night, alone, and felt something you couldn't quite name? Not panic, not anger, something quieter than that. A slow, suffocating realization. You are working harder than you ever have in your life, and you're still losing. Money comes in, money disappears, and no matter what you do, the gap never closes. The most humiliating part? Nobody around you can tell. From the outside, everything looks fine. You show up, you perform, you smile, you even buy a few things here and there. Not because you want them, but because you need the world to believe you're okay. But late at night, when it's just you and that number on the screen, you know the truth. And the truth is this. You're not broke because you earn too little. You are broke because you have been quietly, systematically trained to keep yourself that way. A servant to convenience, a servant to appearances, a servant to a system that profits every time you spend. Because a man who is always spending is a man who must always obey. Obey his boss, obey his debts, obey his fear. Centuries ago, Niccolo Machiavelli observed something about power that most people never truly understand. Power does not belong to the loudest man in the room. It belongs to the man who controls resources quietly, patiently, strategically. Money is not just currency. It is leverage. It is breathing room. It is the ability to say no without consequences. And yet the modern world has engineered an entire system designed to strip that leverage from you the moment it enters your hands. New phone, new car, new subscription, new identity for sale. The moment your income rises, your expenses rise faster. And before long, you're standing in the exact same place, just with a higher salary and bigger obligations. This is why some men earn six figures and still feel trapped, while others live simply and quietly accumulate real power. The difference is not luck. It is not talent. It is not even income. The difference is discipline guided by strategy. Machiavelli never taught people how to be poor. He taught rulers how to remain powerful. And when you apply that same ruthless clarity to your finances, something shifts. You realize wealth is not built through complicated schemes or magical investment strategies. It is built through control. Control over your desires. Control over your environment. Control over the tiny decisions that most people make unconsciously every single day. And that control begins with a concept most people misunderstand completely. Minimalism. Minimalism is not deprivation. It is not poverty wearing a philosophical mask. Minimalism is strategic elimination. The deliberate act of removing everything that weakens your financial position. Like a general stripping unnecessary weight before a decisive battle. Today, we are going to cover 3 minimalist rules that almost guarantee you will always have money. Not because they make you rich overnight, but because they permanently dismantle the traps that silently keep most people broke forever. These are not friendly suggestions. They are principles with real strategic weight behind them. Let's begin. Number 1. Control your lifestyle before it controls you. The moment most people start earning more money, something dangerous happens almost immediately. Their lifestyle expands. A raise becomes a reason to move somewhere bigger. A bonus becomes permission for a luxury purchase. A promotion suddenly means the old car is embarrassing. At first, this feels completely natural. After all, what is the point of earning more if you cannot enjoy it? But this is exactly where the trap closes. Because lifestyle inflation is one of the most powerful financial chains ever designed. The more you upgrade your life, the more expensive it becomes just to maintain it. And once those expenses become your new normal, they no longer feel like luxuries. They feel like survival. The car payment must be made. The premium apartment must be kept. The subscriptions cannot be canceled. And slowly, without ever making a single dramatic mistake, you have transformed your higher income into a heavier obligation. You have not moved forward. You have simply upgraded your cage. Machiavelli understood this dynamic with brutal clarity. He observed that rulers who lived extravagantly became prisoners of their own luxury. The more lavish their lifestyle, the more they depended on constant revenue, which meant they were always forced to please others, to compromise decisions, to sacrifice independence just to maintain appearances. Luxury, in other words, quietly destroys freedom. Now, look at the modern world. Consider professional athletes. Many enter their careers earning more money in a single year than most people will see in a lifetime, and yet, studies consistently show that the majority of NFL players go bankrupt within just 2 years of retirement. Not because they lack talent, not because they were poorly paid, but because every time their income grew, their lifestyle grew faster. Mansions with monthly costs larger than most mortgages. Fleets of cars they rarely drove. Entourages of people they were expected to support. When the income stopped, the entire structure collapsed, and they discovered something devastating. A high lifestyle is not a reward. It is a hostage situation. Minimalists approach this differently. Instead of expanding their lifestyle with every raise, they freeze it deliberately. They build a life that is comfortable, but intentionally smaller than their income. And that gap, that space between what you earn and what you spend, creates something with enormous strategic value. Margin. Margin is the silent weapon of financial stability. It is where savings accumulate without effort, where investments quietly compound, where genuine freedom begins to take shape. A person with margin can face an emergency without panic. A person without margin is one bad month away from collapse. Minimalism protects that margin by refusing unnecessary upgrades, not out of deprivation, but out of strategic awareness. Every upgrade is a commitment. Every commitment reduces flexibility, and flexibility is power. So the first minimalist rule is this: do not allow your lifestyle to grow at the same speed as your income. When income rises, let your lifestyle remain almost unchanged. Let the difference quietly accumulate in the background. Over time, that difference becomes something most people only dream about. It becomes financial stability, and stability is the foundation of every powerful decision. Number 2, remove the hidden leaks. Imagine filling a large bucket with water. Now imagine that bucket has 20 small holes drilled into the bottom. No matter how much water you pour in, the level never rises. This is exactly how most people manage their money. They focus entirely on earning more, while completely ignoring the tiny leaks, draining their resources silently every single day. Subscriptions they forgot they had. Convenience purchases that add up faster than logic suggests. Small automatic charges that quietly repeat every single month. Invisible, painless, and devastating over time. Modern consumer systems are not built around large purchases anymore. They are built around this exact mechanism. $10 here, $15 there, $20 somewhere else. Each one looks completely harmless in isolation, but multiplied across dozens of services, they become a constant, invisible drain on everything you have worked for. And because the payments are automated, most people genuinely do not notice them until they sit down one day and actually look. This is precisely why minimalism places such heavy emphasis on simplicity. A minimalist financial system is clean. Few accounts, few subscriptions, few recurring charges, everything visible, everything intentional. Because clarity is a form of control, and complexity is how control escapes you. There's a deeper psychological layer here too. When you own fewer things and pay for fewer services, each purchase carries more weight. You stop reacting to marketing. You stop buying to fill time or numb discomfort. You start making deliberate decisions. And that shift changes your entire relationship with money. Minimalism does not mean never spending. It means spending only on what genuinely improves your life and eliminating everything else. Not out of fear, not out of poverty, but out of strategy. Because once you seal those hidden leaks, something almost surprising happens. Money begins to stay. Not because your income changed, not because you got lucky, simply because the invisible drain stopped. Number 3, build automatic discipline. Here is a truth about human nature that most financial advice refuses to say directly. Willpower does not work. Not over time, not under real pressure, not after a brutal workday when every instinct in your body is screaming for relief. Everyone makes promises to themselves about money. I'll start saving next month. I'll cut back this week. I'll be more disciplined from now on. And most people genuinely mean those promises in the exact moment they make them. But willpower is not a muscle you can train indefinitely. It is a resource that depletes. And when it runs out, old habits move back in like they never left. This is why the third minimalist rule is perhaps the most critical of all. Do not rely on discipline. Build systems that enforce it automatically. Think about what this means practically. When money sits freely in your main account, it feels available. And available money invites spending. That is not a moral failure. That is human psychology. But when savings transfer automatically the moment income arrives, before you can see it, before you can touch it, before you can spend it, something interesting happens. Your brain stops counting that money as available. It becomes invisible, and invisibility protects it more reliably than any resolution you could make. This is the strategy that quietly separates people who accumulate wealth from people who always seem to start over. Income arrives. A fixed percentage immediately moves to savings, automatically. Another portion flows to investments, automatically. Bills are handled, automatically. And the remainder becomes the only number you mentally work with. No temptation, no debate, no daily decisions required. Just structure operating quietly in the background, building your position, while the rest of your energy goes toward living. Machiavelli understood that the most durable power is not built through extraordinary moments of strength. It is built through systems that function even in moments of weakness. A ruler who depends entirely on his personal courage for every decision is one bad day away from collapse. A ruler with strong systems in place can afford to be human. Build the system. Let the system do the work. And over time, almost without noticing, your position quietly strengthens. At first glance, minimalism sounds like restriction. Lie below your means. Cut unnecessary spending. Simplify everything. But when you examine it through the lens of strategy, it reveals itself as something entirely different. Minimalism is not about living small. It is about living with precision. Every unnecessary expense eliminated is a resource reclaimed. Every dollar saved is one unit of freedom gained. Every system built is armor against future mistakes. And these decisions accumulate quietly, compounding in the background like interest on a debt you owe to your future self. Your balance grows, your stress shrinks, and something subtle but permanent begins to change inside you. You stop fearing money, you start directing it. And when that happens, you step into a position that very few people ever actually reach. The position Machiavelli described so precisely. Quiet power, not loud wealth, not visible luxury, but stability, independence, and the ability to make decisions from a place of choice, not desperation. Because in the end, money is not really about buying things. It is about buying options. The option to leave a situation that no longer serves you. The option to pursue something without asking permission. The option to face uncertainty without panic. And minimalism, unglamorous, unflashy, and deeply misunderstood, is one of the most reliable paths toward those options that exists. Not for everyone, only for those willing to think like a strategist instead of consumer. Final challenge. If you want to test these ideas, start this week. Not next month. Not when things settle down. This week, 3 actions only. First, freeze your lifestyle. If your income increases in the next 30 days, upgrade nothing. Let the difference sit. Observe what happens. Second, audit your subscriptions. Open your last bank statement. Find every recurring charge. Cancel at least 3 that you would not miss if they disappeared tomorrow. Third, automate one savings transfer, even small percentage. Set it to move the day income arrives. Before you can spend it, these steps will feel small. They're supposed to, because the goal is not a dramatic transformation. The goal is a shift in identity, from someone who reacts to money to someone who directs it. And once you experience the quiet confidence that comes from that shift, you will understand something that most people spend their entire lives missing. Real wealth is not about showing others what you can buy. It is about knowing what you no longer need to prove. Because the quietest bank accounts often belong to the most powerful minds. And those who master simplicity almost always end up mastering everything else.